In October 2018, the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change, a faction of 90 climate scientists from 40 different countries, issued a report concluding that if humans didn't take immediate collective action to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius by the year 2040, the consequences will be baked into the natural systems of the planet. From there would be no turning back, and droughts, wildfires, flooding and famines would cease to become anomalies and would instead become seasonal markers, like when leaves change brown in the autumn. How was this treated by most of the world leaders? Well, with a sort of collective shrug mainly. Shareholders gotta sharehold. The most high-profile world leader, with one of the biggest countries in the world and therefore one of the biggest contributors to greenhouse gases, even regularly tweets that he firmly doesn't even believe that global warming is a thing. My question is, where is Captain Planet when all this is going on? The theme tune assured me he was going to take pollution down to zero and put down guys who like to loot and plunder. Well, pollution is nowhere near zero, Captain Planet, and looters and plunderers are looting and plundering like never before, mate. Can you sort it out, yeah? Come on! Give us a hand, you mulleted green Jesus of the trees. Captain Planet and the Planeteers was an animated show produced by Turner Programme Services and Dick No Laughing Animation and ran from September 1990 to December 1992. It was followed up by The New Adventures of Captain Planet, which ran from 1993 to 1996. That second series was produced by Hanna-Barbera, because apparently that's all I cover these days, seemingly, and actually by accident. The story of Captain Planet and the Planeteers tells of 5 woke pan-international environmentalist teenagers given the powers of earth, wind, fire, boogie wonderland... scratch that. Go back a bit. Earth, wind, fire, water and heart. Heart was decidedly shortchanged in my opinion, given the power of making you care about puppies and weeping willows. What do you mean I'm missing the point of this? Anyway, they battle against a shifty collection of earth-wrecking billionaire bastards until they get outmatched and then have to combine all their powers to bring forth the eponymous hero, Deus Ex Machina, Captain Planet, with his absolutely incredible green spiky top mullet. So yes, it was an animated show with a strong environmental message, and Captain Planet was also backed by a galaxy of the 80s and 90s most fabulous Hollywood stars, keen for a paycheck and a good publicity combo. Series regulars included Whoopi Goldberg playing Gaia, who is Mother Nature, and she's also joined by her Star Trek co-star LeVar Burton playing Ghanaian Planeteer leader Kwame. Villains included Meg Ryan as Dr. Blight, Ed Asner as Hoggish Greedley, Jeff Goldblum as Vermonious Scum, James Coburn as Loot and Plunder, Martin Sheen and Jim Cummings sharing the role of Sly Sludge, and Dean Stockwell as Duke Nukem. No, not that one. You don't see him at any point throwing money around badly animated, pixelated strippers. Arch-villain Zahn was actually played by 3 major celebrities in David Warner, Malcolm McDowell and noted eco-warrior Sting. The series did reasonably well, given the fact that it ran for 6 years across its 2 iterations, and so a video game seemed inevitable. In fact, it came out very early, and most people will remember the Amiga 500 pack that came bundled with Captain Planet. Mindscape were behind that, and also versions for the NES, the Atari ST, the Amstrad, and what we're talking about today, the ZX Spectrum. Mindscape took the decision to develop 3 different games to suit the various platforms' capabilities. So there was one for the NES, one for the 2 16-bit consoles, and one for the 2 8-bit computers. Probe Software, fronted by Dave Perry, handled the 8-bit versions. They brought their usual eye-searing use of the Spectrum's colour palette for the 3-level shooter, which does away with the pretense that anyone wants to play as the lame Planeteers and puts you firmly in those shiny silver slacks of Captain Planet himself. The game came with a manual stuffed with environmental tips to ensure that you're being a good Planeteer yourself. It's probably best now not to mention that neither the box or the manual were made from recycled paper. Graphically, it's another hit for Perry, with large, non-jerky, colourful sprites zipping about without any attribute clash, once again showing that Probe Software had done a deal with some sort of ancient arcane evil to get the Spectrum to perform this way. Either that, or they're really good programmers. One of the two. I'm going to stick with the first because it sounds more exciting, doesn't it? The game plays a fair bit like Dan Dare 3, a zippy horizontal shooter with the captain spamming enemies and environmental aggressors with his spangly, presumably environmentally sound stardust. In the first level, Captain Planet has to stop Sly Sludge from polluting the atmosphere with CFCs. I think CFCs were probably the most 90s pollution you could get. He does this by blowing up radar dishes, because radar dishes have CFCs in them. Okay. Storyline wise, Sly Sludge is trying to deliberately ruin the ozone layer so he can open more sunny resorts, which sounds pretty good, but then you think about it and it actually sounds a bit of a disaster. And that's just the first level. Later levels have loot and plunder stealing dolphins for some reason. In the third and final level, Dr. Blight decides to blow up the rainforests for shits and giggles. She could turn that into paper, couldn't she? Make more boxes and manuals for Captain Planet games, perhaps. What's she doing? Does she not like the look of proboscis monkeys? Because look at them. You're blowing them up. You're blowing up proboscis monkeys, Dr. Blight. You've got to stop that. Look at them. How funny they are. Oh, look at you, you cute, you funny dick-nosed thing. This is all against a tough time limit, but the in-game timer can be bolstered by flying into these clocks in an into-the-screen pre-level minigame that's as fun as putting on socks filled with bees. Overall, it's a very probey game, stunningly beautiful for the Spectrum and a masterclass of clever programming. But also, it's a very probey game in that it's frustrating and as shallow as the Adriatic Sea in the year 2072, if we carry on the way we are. Bloody humans! Your Sinclair gave it a dismal 49%, not at all impressed with the gameplay. Crash were a great deal more chuffed with it, awarding it a 88%. They must have been blinded by the pretty graphics. Sinclair User sat in between the two with a perfectly fair, and I totally agree with them, 65%, and that brings the episode to a close. So I want to make sure you're all recycling, be very responsible, don't piss in the sink. I don't know if that has an effect on the environment, but I'm sure your spouse or mum or whoever probably won't enjoy you doing that. It's not good for your kind of bathroom environment anyway, is it? So yes, that's it for another week. Might do something different next week away from Spectrum TV games. Who knows? We'll see you then.